Okay, before I start this video, full disclosure on what the niche is. The sales being shown in this video is for a bucket list journal. There's nothing special about this book other than the cover being unique. So I don't want people to think the sales that I show in this video are from some hidden secret niche. Plus, that's not the point of the video, and you'll see why. Okay, so let's talk about seasonal niches versus evergreen niches. Now, which one is better for your publishing business? And inside of this video, I'm going to explain to you which I think is better and why, and some of the myths that are associated with selling in seasonal niches as well. So before we go any further, I just want to say that there's still my free ads course that you can pick up from the description. Go ahead, go get that. It's going to help you massively if you're starting out with ads, or you're struggling with ads, or you're losing lots of money with ads. You can go and download that from the description. Just click the link, put your email address in, and you're going to get sent my free ads course. Okay, so it's going to be like an hour to an hour and a half long. You can get through this pretty quickly, and you're going to benefit from it for a long time. I truly believe it. So go get that. Okay, so back on topic, which is better? And I'm going to give you a typical me answer and say that both are great. So I'm going to explain why, and also going to very quickly now talk about some of the myths associated with selling in seasonal niche. Okay, so these aren't necessarily myths, but I think more so a difference in opinion and a difference in experience. Okay, but what you'll tend to hear is that people will say things like you can only make sales during that niche's month, whenever that is. Okay, so if you're selling in a Valentine's Day niche, then you're only going to make sales during February. If you're selling Halloween books, you're only going to make that during October, etc., etc. Okay, so you're also going to hear people say that you don't get reviews from these sales, that all seasonal niches are saturated, and that it just is a waste of time. Okay, so this differs completely from my experience with selling in seasonal niches, and I'm going to explain why inside of this video. But my experience with this, just to counter these points here, is that you don't necessarily make sales just from one small period of the year. If you do seasonal niches in a certain way, then I believe that you can make sales all year round, but experience those peaks in sales during their seasons. Okay, so I'm going to show you inside of my account in just a second at some of the sales for one of my Valentine's Day books. But the other thing that people say is that you don't get reviews from these sales. Now, so for me, when it comes to the reviews come at the same rate as evergreen books as well. So if I have 80 sales in a seasonal niche and I get one review, then I'd expect that for my evergreen books as well. Okay, and also reviews aren't something I ever concern myself about unless I'm getting 1-star reviews or 2-star reviews, because I believe that if I create a good enough book, then the 5-star reviews or the 4-star reviews are going to come in over time regardless. Okay, so I wouldn't necessarily concern yourself about not getting reviews for a certain type of book. So moving on to seasonal niches being saturated, I think I kind of agree, but for a certain type of book, I think it is really hard to compete with. Okay, so I'm going to show what type of book that is and how you can sort of counter making that type of book and actually make seasonal niche sales. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And you know, other people say it's a waste of time. No, it isn't. Not in my experience. It's been one of the best things that I've done for my publishing business, is to have a variety of niches in there, because at some point you're going to find something that you're just better at creating. So that might not be an evergreen book, it might be something that you've created for Valentine's Day or for Halloween. You just might be better at creating that type of book. You don't know until you try it, and this is exactly what I found with some of my books. So what I want to do here is just to take a look at some of the sales for one of my seasonal niches. Okay, so this is a Valentine's Day book primarily. Okay, so let's take a look at the sales here. Okay, so there's going to be a reason that I'm showing this to you, but what I did was upload a typical Valentine's Day book back in, it looks like it was November of 2019. Okay, so what we can see here is that, you know, it sold a few here, it sold a few during Christmas, it sold a little bit during January, and then it peaked massively in February where I had 102 sales. Then it started dying off. We're still making sales here, as you can see, but it dies off, dies almost completely in September of 2020. Then it picks back up again as we go toward Q4. 37, it died a little bit in December 2020, but that's fine, and then picked up a little bit more in February here during Valentine's Day, which I'd expect. Then it went down, and then as it came toward Q4 again, December, we picked right back up. Now we can't see the stats here for January and February just yet, but this book is now selling pretty good as we come toward Valentine's Day again. It's not selling as well as it did in February 2020, but that was 2 years ago, so you'd expect it to die off at some point. And this is a typical low content book. Okay, you've seen these before. You've seen them 100, you've seen them 1,000 times, this type of book bombs, what I've been selling here, okay? So as you can see there, I'm making sales throughout the course of the year, and then also they're peaking during February and December, okay? So that's a typical seasonal niche. However, I think what a lot of the problem will be when it comes to selling in seasonal niche is that people are too specific, okay? So that might be the issue when it comes to not doing well with seasonal books. So again, this is what people do. They make things like Valentine's Day gift books. They make things like Mother's Day keepsakes. They make things like Easter activity books. They make things like Halloween coloring books, and they make things like Christmas quiz books. Okay. So for me, this is too specific, and you are really limiting yourself to that month or that day or a specific time. Okay. So if you position yourself differently in the market, you can still get the sales from those peaks, you know, while still being relevant to the niche. You still have like a Valentine's Day book or a Mother's Day book, you're still relevant, but you can continue to make sales throughout the year if you just position your book slightly different by not being too specific with it. So instead of a Valentine's Day gift book, we could have a bucket list journal for couples. Okay, so the topic of love, it has no limitations to just Valentine's Day or Valentine's month of February, right? That's something that people are going to be interested in buying all year round. A bucket list journal, people want to buy that kind of thing all year round, and you know, during Christmas as well. Whereas if you're specifically making your book about Valentine's Day, people are going to feel less inclined to buy that throughout the rest of the year. That's what I think anyway. You know, same for Mother's Day books here. So instead of these kind of Mother's Day keepsake things or whatever they call them, you could make something like a Mom, I Love You Because book. So you've seen these before. Again, that doesn't limit yourself to Mother's Day. Easter activity book. Now I've just rushed the thought process of this one, but instead of that, you could have something like a baby animal activity book, so that you don't limit yourself to just Easter. And actually, Halloween coloring book is something that I have experience with myself, and I'm going to show you some examples of the type of books that don't work. But for this one, for example, you could create a horror coloring book, okay? Because you think about it, are people more likely to buy a Halloween coloring book for Christmas, or they're more likely to buy a horror coloring book for Christmas, okay? And also they're still likely to buy that type of book during Halloween as well, if that makes sense, okay? So again, another example here, Christmas quiz book, we could have anything. So my experience with selling Christmas specific books hasn't been that good. So I've made a couple. I think one of them was a Christmas dot marker activity book, and the other one was a Christmas quiz book. So kind of like those would you rather type questiony books, but very specifically for Christmas. The type of books that did better, especially the would you rather type books, are the ones that were just generic type of books, okay? So they weren't specific to Christmas, and they outsold my Christmas specific ones, okay? And you know, with Christmas in Q4, it's just a case of you just think of something that people want to have. You don't have to go that specific and make it all Christmas themed. You can do it, obviously, but I certainly wouldn't prioritize that if I find a good book to create, okay? So these type of books here are the type of books that everyone tells you to make. You've seen loads of YouTube videos on them. I've maybe made one myself, but the point is, like, being this specific and so many people being this specific, there's going to be a ton of competition, and there's not much that you can do to stand out and differentiate your book when it comes to creating these type of books, okay? You get stuck in this one track mind that you're going to create the book that everyone else has created already, okay? And you probably won't make sales with it. And yeah, like I say, the competition is extremely tough with these books. And also, if you're trying to run ads, especially to these type of phrases, you'll find that your ad cost is going to be much higher, okay? Okay, so full disclosure here, these are the type of books that I have experience with when it comes to seasonal niches. We have Valentine's Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, Spring, Halloween, and Christmas as well. Now, the best for me has been Valentine's Day and Christmas, okay? So a lot of people should tell you that you should create where you feel passionate about. And that's something that I kind of get, but I don't necessarily think it's the most productive approach, because if you're passionate about creating something like a Pancake Day activity book and nobody wants that, you're going to spend a portion of your life creating something for no reason, okay? So for example, something like this here, I've actually searched for Pancake Day coloring book, and we got like an activity book. Now, I like to follow traffic, but I like to use Amazon to tell me that certain niches have got traffic going to them. Now, something like a Pancake Day coloring book or activity book, I can guarantee it's ranked 3 million, which means it's not making any sales at all. And you think like the amount of time that is taken to create something like this, albeit it's not particularly good, but still it took some time to create this book, and it's just a waste to to create something that you feel ultra passionate about when nobody wants it. You don't win any awards just for creating a good book. To make this worth your time, you have to go after traffic as well. So the seasonal niches that I know have got traffic going to them are the ones on screen at the moment, the ones that I have experience publishing in, because I did my niche research around them, okay, and then produced good books in those niches, right? So yeah, that's seasonal niches, and I think you shouldn't limit yourself if you find a good opportunity to make sales. If you find a good opportunity in a kind of seasonal niche that you think you can create a really killer book around, don't limit yourself because you've heard someone say that seasonal niches are a waste of time. Just go for it. And if you make a book that isn't too specific and you think of it as something that can sell all year round, you can position it that way, then go for it, okay? So for me, evergreen books are what do better for me. I make more sales just through virtue of having more of these books out there. So with these, you do have more niche selection, in my opinion. There's just so many different niches that you can go after, and you can run ads to these books all year round. And with evergreen books, you have a higher chance of finding topics that you feel more passionate about. So the more passionate you feel about something, the more effort that you're going to put into that as well. And therefore, the more effort you put into it, that's going to show up in the quality of your book, and you're therefore going to increase the chances of making sales in those niches, okay? So I'll be creating around 10 to 15 evergreen books this year, okay? So that might come as a surprise to some people that think you need to put out thousands and thousands of books every single year. My mentality going into 2022, I think, as you've probably established from my last video, is that I want to create a high quality book in a good niche and then run ads to it. That's the basics, right? So 10 to 15 of them, but one of those books is going to be in my KDP case study. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to actually release this for people to look at, because it's something more so for myself at the moment. But if you're interested in seeing how I'm picking a niche, actively creating or having a book cover made for it and explaining every step along the way, as in how much I paid for it, why I picked this niche, how I'm creating the interiors for this, how I'm differentiating my book as well, and also how I plan to run ads to that book as well. Okay, so if you're interested in that and you want to see anything specific in that, then I'll potentially add that and also potentially release this, because I'm aware this is a kind of put your reputation on the line type of project, but I think it would be cool anyway. So if you're interested, leave a comment below. So at the end of all this, I think you need to go with what makes sense to you, because I know people that only create books in seasonal niches and make great sales. I know people that only create books in evergreen niches and make sales, okay? Myself, I like to have a nice mixture of both, but you need to go with what makes sense to you. If you see an opportunity to create a great book that's a seasonal niche, then do it. If you see more opportunities that you feel passionate about in evergreen niches, then do that instead. I feel like this is a topic that doesn't need to be discussed, but also it's something that you shouldn't shy away from either when it comes to producing a seasonal niche book. And I think if you follow my approach here of trying to make these seasonal niches a little bit more viable for sales throughout the year, then you'll have more success with them, and you'll feel like it's actually something that's worth your time, instead of creating a book that you think is only going to sell during 1 month. If it can sell throughout the course of the year, that's even better, right? And it's going to be worth your time. And then of course you see those peaks during those seasonal moments, right? Anyway, that's it for this video. I feel like I've actually finally managed to make a video that isn't 20 hours long, but still has decent information in it. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in another video very soon.